And you're live.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the April Joint Commission Working Group and Program Advisory Committee meeting. My name is Sarah Bagley, and I'm filling in for Chair Palchuk, who is unable to attend today's meeting. As a note that we are starting the meeting at 4:35 p.m. Today's meeting is an all-virtual public meeting as permitted under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and NVTC's electronic participation policy. For the public, if the live stream fails, please contact NVTC staff via email at support@novatransit.org. I'll say it again real quick, support@novatransit.org, and that email will be monitored during the meeting. This information can also be found on NVTC's meeting webpage. I'll now ask Anne McGrain, NVTC's Deputy Director of Programs and Policy, to call the roll and identify the staff participating in the meeting.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, commissioners. I will just go through roll, and as a reminder, you'll need to have your camera on for it to count towards the quorum. Is Ms. Allen here? Okay. So actually, we will need Ms. Allen also for the Joint Commission Working Group quorum, but our board administrator, Rhonda Gilchrist, has told me that we can go ahead. We'll just want to note when she joins. Ms. Bagley, okay. You are obviously here.
Here.
Mr. Bodie.
Here.
Ms. Holmes.
Here.
And then for the Program Advisory Committee, we have Ms. Briskman.
Here.
And Mr. Snyder hasn't joined yet, correct? Okay, we'll note when he joins. I'd also like to acknowledge our non-committee members or non-committee commissioners who are present. We have Mr. Carantonis and Delegate Sickles. Thank you for joining us. Did I miss anyone in that quorum? Or in that quorum call? Okay. As far as staff participating from NVTC, we have Kate Mattice, our Executive Director, Andrew DeVetter, the Director of Programs and Policy, Rhonda Gilchrist, our Board Administrator, Daniel Nickelbein, the Commuter Choice Program Manager, myself, Anne McGrain, our Deputy Director of Programs and Policy, Melissa Walker with our IT, and then our Program Analysts, Jason Adel and Shannon Bacon, as well as Tenley O'Hara. Also from DRPT, we have Amy Garbarini. And I believe that is all. Thank you. And back to you, Chair Bagley.
Thank you. And if staff could just help me with monitoring when others join or potentially depart the feed. I don't know that I can, see all the bubbles. And Supervisor Bodie, wherever you are, it is beautiful. As part of today's meeting material,
thank you. I was walking my dog.
Were you walking the dog? Well, it looked like a gorgeous day. So getting into our agenda, as part of our today's meeting materials, we were provided a summary of the September 19th, 2024 Joint Program Advisory Committee / Joint Commission Working Group meeting. The Program Advisory Committee had a chance to look at the summary of their last meeting. Does anyone else have any comments or changes to share with the staff? And at this point, I can't see if you're doing a hand raise, so I would need you to say something. If you could, if you have any changes.
No hands are raised.
And I'm not hearing anything either. Okay, great. So if there's no comments, the committee will accept the summary. And with that, I will move on to item 2B, which is our draft I-395-95 Commuter Choice Staff Recommended Program of Projects for FY 26 and 27. Before I turn the floor over to our Commuter Choice Program Manager, Daniel Nickelbein, I want to note that the NVTC just completed the final step of public outreach for the draft staff recommended program of projects by holding a public hearing on those projects. Daniel will provide a brief update on that hearing and then walk through the draft I-395-95 Commuter Choice Staff Recommended Program of Projects for FY 26-27. Staff has delivered Joint Commission Working Group endorsement of the overall programming recommendation. This is a consensus-based recommendation and will not need a formal action this afternoon. With that, Daniel, let's get started.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor Bagley.
Next slide, please. So before I get into this year's staff recommended commuter choice program of projects, I want to provide a quick refresher on the program. Commuter choice began in 2017 as a program to reinvest locally generated toll revenue into funding for transit and other multimodal transportation projects along the I-66 corridor. Program was expanded to the I-395 corridor in 2019. And the I-395-95 Commuter Choice Program is a partnership between NVTC-PRTC and the Commonwealth, with authority for NVTC to manage the program delegated from the Commonwealth Transportation Board. So while NVTC manages the day-to-day aspects of the program, both the NVTC and PRTC commissions must approve the final program of projects for transmittal to the CTB. And all NVTC and PRTC members are eligible for funding. So NVTC receives guaranteed annual payments to fund commuter choice projects from toll revenues generated from the 395 and 95 express lanes. In 2025, that number was approximately $17 million, and that number escalates 2.5% annually. So in the 3 prior rounds of I-395 commuter choice funding, NVTC has awarded nearly $90 million to projects along the I-395-95 corridor. Next slide, please. So Commuter Choice has funded a variety of projects since 2017. Those have included new and enhanced bus service, the purchase of new buses, rail station enhancements, bike share expansion, and the construction of new park and ride lots, among others. I-395 Commuter Choice has funded projects up and down the corridor, from projects located inside the Beltway in Arlington and Alexandria to projects much further south in Spotsylvania County and in Fredericksburg. Since 2017, the program has brought benefits to the Northern Virginia region, including reduced vehicle miles traveled, automobile crashes avoided, travel time savings, and millions of dollars in economic benefits from reduced travel delay. Next slide, please. So some information here on the most recent call for projects, which closed in December 2024. Up to $30 million was available for new projects, and NVTC received 15 applications requesting $37.5 million. After an eligibility review, one project, Arlington County's Cross Potomac Trail, Northern Virginia Approach, was deemed ineligible. Once this project was removed from funding consideration, the amount of funding requested for all eligible projects was within the amount available for new projects. And I would just note that $30 million does not include a $10 million off-the-top award to Fairfax County's Richmond Highway BRT project that you will see mentioned later on in this presentation. Next slide, please. So after the eligibility review, all eligible projects were scored to ensure they demonstrated the requisite benefits to toll payers. The most heavily weighted scoring metric in the scoring process is person throughput, or how efficiently the project would move more people through the I-395-95 corridor. This metric accounts for 45% of the total score in the technical merit category. And I would just note that in each commuter choice funding round, projects are scored relative to each other. Next slide. So this slide is showing the first of 2 slides showing this year's staff recommended program of projects. Fairfax County's Richmond Highway BRT implementation project will receive a second $10 million award, fulfilling a $20 million commitment to the project to be split across 2 funding rounds that was approved by both NVTC and PRTC in the prior I-395-95 commuter choice funding cycle. Next slide. So these are the remaining projects recommended for funding. The proposed total funding for all 15 projects is $39,506,461. The 15 projects include 12 enhanced bus service projects, 1 bus rapid transit line, 1 new bus route, and 1 rail station enhancement project. The 15 projects include all eligible applications that were submitted for funding, given the benefits that each application demonstrated during the evaluation process. Next slide. So note here on our public comment period, NVTC held an online public comment period from March 12th through April 11th, with members of the public able to submit comments via an online survey and via email. 458 submissions were received. We publicized the comment period with social media posts, as well as video greetings in English and Spanish from PAC Chair Dalia Palchik. Staff also held a public hearing directly prior to this meeting to provide an additional opportunity for members of the public to make comments. At the hearing, we did receive 2 comments. Both were from members of Alexandria's DAC committee, and both were in support of DASH's line 35 and 36 service enhancement applications. Next slide, please. So the staff recommended program of projects includes 15 projects totaling $39.5 million in commuter choice funding. Taken together, it is estimated these projects will result in nearly 3,800 weekday trips, result in 22 million fewer annual vehicle miles traveled, and save over $2.4 million in annual fuel costs. Next slide. So this slide shows upcoming dates in the program approval process. After today's Joint Commission Working Group review, both NVTC and PRTC commissions will be briefed on the staff recommended program of projects on May 1st. The CTB's Rail and Transit Subcommittee will be briefed on the staff recommended program on May 20th, and on June 5th. Both commissions will be asked to approve transmitting the final program of projects to the CTB for inclusion in the 6-year improvement program. Next slide, please. Before we turn it over for questions, there are a few policy considerations for future I-395-95 commuter choice funding rounds that I want to highlight. We do anticipate future funding rounds to be highly competitive with limited funding available. It's also important to note that service enhancement projects must reapply for funding every 2 years, and funding is not guaranteed beyond a 2-year cycle. And finally, a reminder that per the MOA, commuter choice funding for operations projects cannot exceed 50% over a rolling 9-year average, creating the need to fund strategic capital investments. Next slide. Excuse me. And with that, I am happy to take any questions.
Daniel, thank you for the thorough presentation. Hold on, let me switch to the gallery view so I can see everybody. There we go. Okay. Does anybody have questions or comments on Daniel's presentation and the content? Is it so good that, like, yes, all right, I'm gonna take the lack of questions and the smiles and the nods as general support for the recommended slate of programs. Okay, I'm seeing
Madam
good
Chair.
nods and smiles. Taka, did I just see your hand?
Yeah, for some reason my computer is playing games on me and I cannot find the reaction symbols. I hope that you can hear me anyway. So
Yes, we hear you.
question, I'm happy about all this. So equity focus is a factor in the selection. Can you just elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, so Commissioner Cartonis, we do evaluate equity as part of whether the project either starts or ends at one of MWCOG's equity emphasis areas. So it is awarded points whether if it does either the starting point or the destination touches one of COG's designated equity emphasis areas.
So what counts there? Whether it serves the general population there, or most destinations are there. What?
Yeah, COG's equity emphasis areas take into account factors like income and other social demographic factors to designate those areas.
And that affects the score of the project.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. That I wanted to see because the couple of projects that I see that they have an emphasis, an equity emphasis area footprint. So it's very clear to me. Just I wanted to know a little bit more about that. I probably have to dig a little bit deeper for the details of that. So thank you.
No, it's an important question. Thank you, Takis. And then Supervisor Bodie, I see your hand.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Acting Chair, if I can call you that. Since Takis brought up the equity emphasis areas, I had a similar question around COG's activity centers. I know that right now COG is going through the process of updating their activity centers for the region, and my question is the activity centers designated by COG also a factor in the competitiveness of a project?
It is. So in the accessibility and equity factor, we do evaluate both whether the project is located in a regional activity center and or an equity emphasis area.
Appreciate that. If I could have Madam Acting Chair one follow-up question.
Please.
Thank you. Kind of related, but not completely related. I saw, and I'm obviously fully in support of that two cycle tranche of $10 million for the BRT for Richmond Highway in Fairfax. Just assuming that somewhere down the line, Prince William County, as an example, wants to have sort of a handshaking type BRT project, what is the criteria for getting access to that sort of 2-year tranche of money versus just a 1-year allocation?
So currently the funding maximum is $20 million across the program. I think on a case-by-case basis, staff would absolutely be willing to work with applicants should there be a desire to or a need to split funding across multiple programs. Again, we'd certainly have to take into account things like how the application scored, project readiness, all of the things that go into the review. But certainly, as we did with Fairfax, we would certainly be willing to work with Prince William County on a similar type of arrangement.
Great, thank you so much.
No, those are great questions. And I want to say, I think we bid adieu to Delegate Sickles, and I think we've been joined by Ms. Allen from PRTC. Do I see her here with us as well? Okay, great.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I had a case with Manassas PD wrapping up at the clinic, so that kind of bled over into time.
No worries. We all know the juggle. We're happy to have you here. I just needed to acknowledge you joined the meeting. And is there anyone else in terms of quorum or attendance that I should acknowledge while we're paused?
No, this is all, and we do have quorum now for the Joint Commission Working Group.
Okay. Okay. So any other questions for Daniel about the slate of projects or the scoring and funding process? Okay, I'm not hearing anything and I'm not seeing anything either. And so I really thank you all for asking those questions. I think it's going to be increasingly incumbent upon all of us to be thinking about things like equity and activity centers in our planning. The next step will be to present this staff recommended and Joint Commission Working Group endorsed program of projects to both commissions at their May 1st meetings. This concludes the Joint Commission Working Group portion of the meeting. Our PRTC colleagues are more than welcome to stay on for part 2 of the meeting as we talk about NVTC and DRPT's I-66 Needs Assessment Study. And with that, I'm going to roll right into item 3A on the agenda, which is a summary of the NVTC Program Advisory Committee February 20th, 2025 meeting. As part of the meeting materials for this meeting, we were provided a summary of the February 20th, 2025 Program Advisory Committee meeting. Does anyone have any comments or changes to share with staff from that summary? And I'm seeing faces, but no hands, and not hearing anything. So we're going to assume that there are no comments. And the committee will accept that summary as circulated. Moving straight on then to 3B, our I-66 needs assessment. This is an update on the work NVTC and DRPT have been doing for the I-66 needs assessment. I was doing so well with all these acronyms and such. For this presentation, Daniel is joined by Amy Garbarini, the Northern Virginia Transit Planning Manager at DRPT. They're going to provide us with background on the study and how it fits into the overall I-66 commuter choice and I-66 outside the Beltway programs. If you can bring up the slides, and then I will hand it off to Daniel and Amy.
Excellent. Thank you, Vice Mayor Bagley. A little bit of context before we get started. So NVTC and DRPT are engaged together in a joint study to examine existing and future needs for travel in the I-66 corridor. I am Daniel Nickelbein, NVTC's Commuter Choice Program Manager, and with me today is Amy Garbarini, DRPT's NOVA Transit Planning Manager. So ultimately, the goal of the needs assessment is to generate a list of potential short and long-term investments that could be funded through either NVTC's I-66 Commuter Choice Program or DRPT's I-66 Outside the Beltway funding program. Also on the call today, we do have Lucas Muller from the Kimley Horn team, who is the consultant on the project. Next slide, please. So a little bit of background on I-66 commuter choice. This program reinvests toll revenue from both I-66 inside the Beltway and I-66 outside the Beltway express lanes into transportation projects that benefit corridor toll payers by moving more people along the expressway and parallel routes, and by establishing effective improvements that expand options for commuters. NVTC received approximately $16 million in toll revenues for I-66 commuter choice in 2025, and as with I-395/95, that number escalates 2.5% annually. The next I-66 call for projects will take place in the fall and is NVTC's 7th funding round for I-66 since the program came into existence in 2017. Prior I-66 commuter choice awards have included commuter bus service enhancements from as far west as Gainesville and Purcellville, local bus service enhancements in Arlington and Fairfax, new bus routes in Fairfax, a second Metro Rail station entrance at McLean, bike parking and bike share improvements in Manassas, the city of Fairfax, and Fairfax County, and a variety of TDM and commuter incentive programs across the region. I'm now going to turn it over to my counterpart from DRPT, Amy Garbarini, to discuss DRPT's I-66, DRPT's I-66 Outside the Beltway program.
Thanks, Daniel. So DRPT's I-66 Outside the Beltway program is a result of an agreement between VDOT, DRPT, and Express Mobility Partners, which established that DRPT will receive annual payments through VDOT from Express Mobility Partners to distribute the funds to transit projects through a selection process and funding program upon the opening of the Outside the Beltway express lanes in 2022. The concessionaire agreement outlines the annual payments that DRPT will receive through to 2064. So that's starting at $5.5 million in 2022, and there's a slight increase annually for inflation. The program accepts applications annually in line with our annual grant cycle, which accepts applications between December 1st and February 1st. And since the program's inception in 2022, only Fairfax Connector and OmniRide have been recipients of these funds, both for operating and capital funding. So those projects include commuter routes that move people from outside the Beltway into inside the Beltway, including the DC area or Arlington region, and then also purchasing of expansion vehicles. So we can go to the next slide. So this slide is just a quick note on tolling on the I-66 corridor. Inside the Beltway, I-66 is tolled only in the peak direction during the peak period hours, meaning eastbound in the morning between 5:30 and 9:30 a.m., and then westbound in the afternoon between 3 and 7 p.m. During these time periods in these directions, facility users must pay the tolls. And then for express lanes on I-66 outside the Beltway, only the express lanes are tolled, and they are tolled bidirectionally. So next slide. Okay, so, excuse me, sorry. So one of the reasons we are undertaking an I-66 needs assessment this year is to update some of the prior studies that are now out of date. The last study for I-66 corridor inside the Beltway was completed back in 2012. And then the last study that DRBT completed for outside the Beltway was published in February 2020, just prior to the start of the pandemic. So this needs assessment will provide the most up-to-date travel trends, both for vehicular and transit data for the corridor. So next slide. So in addition to those prior studies, we also wanted to conduct a needs assessment for because the programs both have a lot of funding remaining, multiple years of funding remaining, and we want to ensure that projects that are selected for funding in future rounds are best meeting the changing travel patterns in the corridor. So this study is going to try to identify both short and long-term investments that both that are eligible for either both programs or one of the programs. And then additionally, the needs assessment is also going to be examining policy proposals that can strategically leverage toll revenue for longer-term transformative major capital investments along the corridor. And just to note that this study will not be identifying discrete routes or detailed projects, nor is it intended to be prescriptive. So transit agencies are still able to submit projects that will not be included in this needs assessment. And if they choose to apply for any of these projects, they would still need to provide additional details, including throughput and travel time. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Daniel.
Thanks, Amy. And we can go to the next slide. So this slide shows the process for developing needs for the corridor. First, we're looking to establish what travel patterns, including top origin destination pairs, look like in the corridor now, and how those travel patterns will change by 2045. So once those travel patterns and top travel markets are identified, we look to which ones currently are not well served by transit, so there could be an unmet demand for new or enhanced travel transit service. This could be through a project that has already been identified in an existing plan or study, or an entirely new project that would meet that need. Although, again, I would again emphasize what Amy mentioned. We're not looking to identify discrete routes or tell transit agencies where they should be running service as part of this study. Next slide, please. So here's our timeline and process for the study. We've documented projects already identified in existing plans and studies, such as capital improvement programs and transit strategic plans. We wrapped up a data analysis showing existing and future conditions, and just completed a round of one-on-one stakeholder engagement meetings. I would note all of the data that was used in the existing and future conditions analysis was taken in 2024. And as we've seen, travel patterns in the region dramatically change over the past 2 months. We've decided that we will need to update our analysis with 2025 data to account for the dramatic increase in both vehicular and transit travel since February. So we'll be working with our consultant team over the next few months to procure that data and to reanalyze travel patterns so that we're using the most up-to-date data possible for the study. Over the summer, we have another round of stakeholder outreach planned, likely in the form of a group workshop, bringing local jurisdictions and transit agencies from across the I-66 corridor together to review study findings. Once that is done, we will develop a draft investment pipeline of projects that could be funded by either Commuter Choice or DRPT's I-66 Outside the Beltway funding program. Next slide, please. So this is our toolbox of potential solutions for meeting identified transit needs along the I-66 corridor. I would note each of these solutions is context dependent, and ultimately it will be up to each individual jurisdiction to decide which of these solutions is right for them. Solutions could include increasing the frequency of existing transit, creating new bus routes, enhancing rail facilities, or access to transit improvements, among others. And I do want to emphasize here that while we're attempting to capture as many potential project ideas as possible, inclusion in the final needs assessment document is not and will not be a requirement to apply for commuter choice funding. And agencies are always welcome to develop new application ideas. I'm going to pause. It looks like we have a question from Vice Chair Briskman.
Yes, this list, is this sort of the list of what you could apply for grants for when you say potential solutions? These are the categories that the grants would have to fit into, or the applications would have to fit into?
So this list is broadly based on eligibility criteria for the commuter choice and I-66 outside the Beltway funding programs. Again, not every solution will be right for each individual jurisdiction, but this is sort of the toolbox of potential solutions that we are working from.
Okay, thank you.
And if we could bring back up the slides.
The slides are still up for me.
Oh, they are not up for me. I'm going to assume, are we on slide 10? There we go. There it is. Thank you, Tenley. So finally, some next steps in the process. We're currently working to recap and document the stakeholder meetings that were held in March and April. Excuse me, and synthesize what we heard from stakeholders with the previously identified travel market needs. The team is also working to identify any unaddressed needs that came out of the prior phases of the study. As mentioned, we are starting discussions on how to best update the travel data to reflect 2025 trends and anticipate starting the revised data collection process shortly. Excuse me. We're also looking at potential policy changes to one or both funding programs that could be made to better support the recommendations included in the final draft of the study. Later this summer, as mentioned, we will undertake another round of stakeholder outreach, and in the fall or winter, we plan on finalizing a draft of the plan for commission review. So that concludes our presentation, and Amy and I are happy to take any questions.
Okay, Vice Chair Briskman, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, you know, being in Loudoun County, I don't often see opportunities, say, in the 95 or 395 corridor relief projects. And 66, I think, is a little bit, you know, it doesn't really go into Loudoun County, but it sounds like if a project would help relieve traffic off of 66, it could qualify. If I'm saying that correctly, and it is an interesting thing to consider because we actually just had to boost our funding for our commuter routes, and we are phasing back in 9 buses that we took out of service. 9 buses. We had like an average of 68 routes that had standing people since the back to office orders. So yeah, so we had to add back 9 buses. We're starting on May 5th, I believe, with a couple new, and then we're going to phase in those 9 buses that we've just taken out of service not too long ago and phase them back in. So we'll definitely keep an eye on this for opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, and Vice Chair Briskman, as you know, we've funded and supported Loudoun County express routes in the past. We had a great meeting with Scott Gross and your staff a few weeks ago, and so definitely keeping those lines of communication open.
And Anne, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, I'd just like to jump in to note that Mr. Snyder joined about 10 minutes ago. Mr. Snyder, are you able to turn on your camera for quorum purposes?
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Chair Bagley, we might just after this want to circle back to ask Mr. Snyder if he has any comments on the summary for PAC, just to tie all our loose ends up.
I can do that. It's good to see you, Mr. Snyder. Thank you for joining us. Any other questions on the I-66 needs assessment from any of our members or visiting members of our group? I'm personally, I mean, I'm aware at VRE, we were just commenting on the fact that even 3 months ago, what we thought was sort of the return to ridership doesn't look like, what it looks like now. So comparing to pre-pandemic, comparing to, post-pandemic doesn't even seem to apply anymore. We're in a sort of a third period now. So I'm pleased to see that we're going to have, data that will help drive some hopefully creative and useful projects for the funding process. Let me make sure. So there's no action on this item. This was simply an update for the group, and we have been thoroughly updated and had a chance to ask questions and make comments. So thank you very much to staff, Ms. Garbarini, Mr. Nickelbein for the presentation, and for everybody for commenting. Bearing in mind Mr. Snyder's joining of the meeting, did you have any comment on the PAC summary that was distributed before this meeting? Okay.
No comments. Thank you. And
Okay.
thanks for the presentations and the discussion from the members.
Thank you, sir. Anne or anyone else at NVTC, are there any other business items that we need to take care of? No? All right. So with that, I'll thank everybody. Our next PAC meeting is Wednesday, June 18th at 4:30 p.m. We'll be receiving an in-depth update from Senior Program Manager Vikram Sinha about Envision Route 7 and bus priority. It should be a good one. We're giving everybody back some time today and giving Vice Chair Briskman back a whole lot of time today. So thank you all for your time. Is there any other business before the PAC or any other final questions before we adjourn? I love it. I'm seeing smiles and happy faces. Well, everyone enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you